Peace. This is Brother Hakim. I'm on mile 3. And I feel excellent. High, but I'm catching my mind going into negative loops. When I'm running and trying to focus on my breath or focusing on building habits that I need or having thoughts that I need, and I find my mind drifting off to unpleasant things when I got such a wide world of happiness and joy to visualize. Now, this is for all those on the journey before I get into my topic. It's strange how our mind works. I just focusing on the negative was a survival mechanism that we developed because you had to always be prepared for the worst. And in some senses in this world we still do. Like I'm walking out here in the street, I have to still be mindful of my surroundings because a car could jump a curb or somebody could run by trying to steal my phone, or just some kids out here acting crazy might want to do something. But you know what I'm saying? What's strange to me, I ain't gonna call it strange, but as warriors, we got to constantly monitor our thoughts. In the Virtues of Mind, they talk about control of thoughts, and I'm really starting to understand that, and maybe you have a little deeper understanding of it after I get done with the piece that I'm gonna freestyle today. Bear with me, it's gonna be random, and I'm gonna have to go back because just you used to the journey. You used to how I tell me the journey and where I write, and especially on mile 3 because I freestyle mile 3. But anyway, it's amazing that people almost choose by not monitoring their thoughts to allow their mind to dwell on negative shit, imaginary shit. And if you have to imagine something, why not focus your attention on something that you would like to see in your life? That's a lot of wasted mental energy. That's a lot of wasted shade going into some bullshit. So, my challenge for everybody on the journey, all those warriors out there, all those people that's seeking that warrior spirit, learn to train your mind so that you can focus as intensely on the things that you want, on the things that make you happy, on the things that bring you joy, on the things that bring you prosperity, on the things that bring you balance, rather than that shit that you don't want, that shit that makes you unhealthy, that shit that makes you hurt. You know what I'm saying? So refocus your attention, sharpen your sword, get it to where you are in control of it. Because for the first time, I'm in all the years of meditation and running, the actual, let me put it this way, I have heard people talk about that individual that watches the thoughts. For the first time in all my years, I experienced that part of myself that watched the thoughts, because the thoughts was just flowing, but it was something in there that was just watching these thoughts, or was just listening to these thoughts. I don't know how to describe it, but there was a watcher there that helped me become aware of what was going on. I'm sitting up here like, I got this cycle going, and it was something that was perceiving the cycle, and it allowed me to snap myself out of it. And I'm saying, look for that watcher. Maybe that's the true self, or that higher self that they talk about. But it was there, and it helped me snap out of the negative state that I was moving to during my run. Now, sending shouts out to Oxy Water, the world's first oxygen-enhanced flavored mineral water. You could look it up at www.tryoxywater.com. It's a one-stop drink. You get everything you need. 0 calories, 0 carbs, 0 sugar. So Go and check it out. Also, check out Orange 82. They provide me with my intro and exit movie music when I'm doing the journey, and they always hit me up with new and free tracks. I call it surfer music, where on those late nights when you start feeling sleepy, if you need to stay up to finish some work on a computer, you could put on some Orange 82 music and stay up all night, basically. Get you oxy water and just listen and stay up all night. The title of what I'm going to discuss today is called Genies, Demons, and Amen. Yep, I'm going to repeat that again. Genies, Demons, and Amen. Now, those of you that's been listening to the Journey, Journey radio show, are familiar with my concept where I talk about the genie, but I'm gonna rehash it real quick for those that's new, so that you don't have to go back to the archives and find it. A few years ago, when I was working in drug treatment, I put together a series of ideas and a way of working with these young men using myths and proverbs to help them realize there was a different way, expose them to different forms of thought and different ideas. So I would use proverbs from every tradition and every culture that I could find that really struck a chord with me, and I would have them write them out. But then also I had something called the story builder sheet, where an individual would look at a story, a myth, and break it down. Now let me give you the reasoning behind this. Religions, spiritual systems, what have you. These, for me, are sciences. I look at every religion as a science, and this is why I say that. And some people will disagree with me, and that's cool, because that's what the show is about. It's about promoting discussion and the sharing of ideas. But when I say a science, what I mean, it gives a structure to reality that I could work from. Because in my studies of religions, I have seen I see more similarities than I see differences in most of them, if not all. I can't say all, because that's, a term that wouldn't be fair, but I'm seeing more similarities. And then when we get into the myths of different cultures, I'm seeing the same motif over and over again. And I was made aware of this by Joseph Campbell. And he basically lay out a model that's called the hero's journey, that if you look at it, you see all of the heroes that come out of these religions, that come out of these myths, that come out of these legends. He shows a cycle that all of them go through. I spoke about this cycle over and over again. It's important for those of you on the journey. That's one of the reasons I call it the journey. It's important for your warrior training to understand it, because if you know the cycles of the hero, if you know the cycles of the warrior, if you know these cycles, it makes it easier for you to make it through the transitions or some of the issues that you may go through in life. So anyway, I would look at these myths, and I developed a worksheet to help the young men pull out the wisdom that was there for them. So one of the stories that I happened to run into was the story of Aladdin and the lamp. It was kind of too long for me to really work with the young men on, but it intrigued me enough to start doing some research. So I did some research, and I found out that genies in the slightly Eastern culture, the Middle East culture, genies or genie is the is the single form of jinn. And jinn, for those that don't know, in the Middle Eastern cultures are spirits. Now in the Quran they talk about jinn well, in Quran they mention jinn, and they talk about how the three major creations of the Creator were man, angels, and jinn. And jinn exists in a plane that's separate from us. So it's like they exist with us in the same, it's not like they're in the same space, but they exist in another plane. Well, anyway, genies would be in certain areas, and some of them would cause problems. So you would have some wise men that were able to trick them into bottles and lock them in using their own magic. And when they were released, they were to give whoever released them wishes. Now, some men say you had unlimited wishes. Other ones said you was limited to 3. Now, also coming from the Quran into the Bible, King Solomon was said to have received the wisdom of everything, and he was able to control jinn and demons, which basically are almost the same, if not the same. And using them, he built the holy temple, or the temple of Solomon that the Masons talk about. He used the jinn and demons and some men to build the temple. This is the myth that's behind it. So, and when they disobeyed, he would seal them in lead jars. He would seal them with magic, and when they were released, they had to once again serve the person of releasing. So I'm looking at this, and this sounded familiar. So I remember in some of my readings earlier that in the Greek and Roman culture, each individual was given a demon. Yes, I said a demon. So I want you to understand that the concept of demon is much older than is used in the Bible. Demon means of man. Hey, look it up. All right, of man. Now, each human being upon birth were blessed with a demon. Okay? And this demon's job was to, in a sense, assist this human being in their very existence. Now, this is where it gets crazy. So, when Europeans went to Arabia and discovered the 1,001 Nights tale and heard about land in his lamp, and they wanted to translate it, when they translated jinn or genie, when they translated, the closest word that they had for what this being was demon in their literature. But a demon, at that point in time when it was translated, had been reused by the church to mean an evil being, servant of Satan. So rather than use the term demon, they used the other name that the Romans had used. So in Greece, in Greece and Rome, one of them, the other name that was used for it was genius. Now, when an individual in Western society, Greek and Roman society, appeared to be very blessed and came into the world with supposedly certain type of knowledge and mastered something, they were often called a genius. And they were one whose demons provided them or helped them hone their skills so it looked like magic. So if they was playing a flute and that was what they mastered, it was said that their genius was helping them, or their demon was helping them. So rather than use the word demon when they brought genie to Western civilization, they used the term genie, which in the Western culture comes from the word genius. Alright, so now you got these two cultures using this. Now, doing further research, I discovered that when you look at the word jinn in Arabic, the J and the N signifies something that is covered or hidden. Now, you know, if you've been following me on the journey and you've been following me on mile 3 for at least the last 3 sessions, I've been talking about some books that I've been reading that are using like science to help people change their life. I'm reading a book called Outliers, which you could check out, which talks about individuals being able to develop their talents, how long it takes them to develop their talents, and how an individual, by, in a sense, their cultural legacy, the people around them are able to push their way into success, and how he wanted to turn the idea that we have taught in America of success over on his head, saying there is no rugged individual that succeeds. No one succeeds by themselves. They succeed because of the time and the cultural legacy that they are in. Then also, I'm reading a book called The Happiness Advantage, where they talk heavily about the mind and how you can train it so that you can be happy. How happiness does not come from the work that you do. You go into the work you do happy. Happiness is not the end. Happiness is in the now, and you have to be able to grasp it and work with it. And they mention the subconscious or the unconscious mind several times in there. And then also I'm reading a book about habits, where they talk about how habits are formed, where the unconscious and subconscious mind comes in. And a few years ago, I read another book, or I listened to Joseph Campbell, where Joseph Campbell talks about these myths all rising out of a collective unconscious of humanity. That's why there seems to be more similarities in the myths and the religions than there are differences, because they all come from the same place. And these religions are designed, or now this is me, the religions and the myth systems are designed to explain the people's environment. Now, bringing it all home and bringing it all the way back. So I'm looking at genie, and genie means hidden, covered up, a being that exists in another realm that we can't see. Then, remembering the thing about the demon, you don't see demons. Demons, you feel the effects of demons. They come from another realm into our realm and cause havoc. Or in ancient Rome and ancient Greek, you had a demon that in a sense helped you exist. And if you were really blessed, your demon loved you enough to help you become a master at something. And then I'm reading all this literature that's talking about this thing called the unconscious or the subconscious, and all this time I've been talking about the true self, which are things that you do not see. And then I'm looking at the genie, and I go back to this idea that the Romans and the Greeks had about the daemon, or the demon, or the genius. And then I'm looking at the literature that I'm reading right now, and I'm saying, could the demon, not the demon of the Christian piece, but the demon of the Greek and the Roman periods, and the genie of the Arabic, be this unconscious mind that people without the vocabulary we have, in a sense, or the ideas or the science of psychology that we have, could these be our ancestors' ways of trying to teach us about the unconscious mind? Because think about this. The genius of Western civilization helped individuals become masters and help them do things or destroy them. Now we go to the whole Arabic piece, or the slightly Eastern piece, and you got this thing called a genie, where you find it in a jar, You rub the jar, or you take the top off, the genie comes out, and the genie grants you wishes. And then we got modern science where they talk about this hidden thing, this unconscious, this lower part of yourself that runs, listen, 95% of your life. That when you plug into it, it can help you become happy. It can help you move to mastery. It can help you become wealthy. Could these things of the past been our ancestors' way of trying to communicate the idea of what we call the unconscious or the subconscious, or as we say in Genies, the true self? And this is something that I'm wrestling with, that I'm thinking about, and I'm just sharing it with you, and hopefully I get some thoughts back on this, because I'm sitting up here like, this is for me, it's phenomenal. For some of y'all might already know this, so it really don't matter, and you might not see the usefulness in this, so you might not care. But to think that historically we have cultures that believe that your life can be changed by this thing, whether we call it the unconscious, whether we call it a daemon, whether we call it a demon, whether we call it a jinn. We believe that the life can be changed. And I'm sitting up here looking at this, wondering, and I'm going to do more research on it, and I'm going to do more reading on it, and I'm going to write in my blog about it. But go and think about that. This has been Brother Tim. I'd like to thank you for being on mile 3. And tonight before you go to bed, make a wish. Y'all have a good night. Peace. Or good morning, or good afternoon, whenever you listen to this. Peace.